Welcome to Soundcheck with Pastor Isaac. We are back again this way. Guess what? My son Joshua is here with us again this week, and he is going to be just excited about the things that God has put on his heart to talk about. So gather your friends around. Somebody needs to share this. Somebody needs to hear this, and so make sure that you're letting your friends know that we're on. All right, Josh.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
I wanted to talk about when you got saved because that's a very important segment for each one individually. And so I do know that when I got saved, that was like the best thing ever that happened to me. Each individual has a birthday because that's the best thing that happens to you. You get your individual birthday, that's your holiday.
Yeah.
But when you get born again, that's a whole new thing altogether. So tell the people about when it was you got saved and how that came about.
Sounds good. Well, okay. I'm going to try to keep it brief because it's a long, winding tale, so I'll try not to bore everybody. But for those who know me, they know pretty much I've grown up in the church. Like
right.
I said, Pastor Foreman, my grandfather, and then you being the pastor. And so I've always been in church. I've always, been a Christian, loved God, been taught Bible from birth. I think I said last time, like I said, you used to read us Bible stories every time before, bedtime and stuff. So it's like, I didn't have a lack of I guess, knowledge, like Bible knowledge. Like, when it was like, we played Bible baseball. I knew it all, you know what I mean? Like, everybody wanted me on the team. I was like the star player, because I knew all the answers. And so I thought I was good. I think I got baptized like 5 years old.
Yeah.
I was really small. And I remember you sitting on the couch and asked me, did I want to, give my life to God? And did I believe that Jesus was, the Son of God? And you prayed over me. And I remember the baptism and everything to this day.
Right.
And so from a young age, I was like, well, I'm saved. I'm good. I know the Lord. I love God and everything's great. So flash forward to my senior year in high school. I remember graduating, and I remember having the college Sunday when we go and give our speech to everybody. And, I think Pastor Gary gave us all the Bibles and everything. Here's your Bible. And he gave us a speech and was basically saying, look, y'all need to, guard your hearts. You need to stay on your word. And because basically you're going to be tested. When you go to school, go to work, wherever, people are going to test you. The devil's going to try you.
Right.
And I distinctly remember thinking this message is not for me. I'm good. Like I said, I've been in church my whole life.
Right.
If anybody's good, it's going to be me. I guess you could say arrogant. I'm fine. And so I went to VCU, and I remember it was just complete culture shock. Just you meet all these different people from all different places in the world. You got people from literally Qatar, Kuwait, China, just everywhere from the world. And you got people coming from different places. They got different beliefs, and they all believe just as hard as you do. It's not they're just I don't know. When you're in a group of like-minded people, it's just, oh yeah, of course, Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Of course, who else would there be? And then you meet somebody who's from Kuwait and they're Muslim and they're like, nah, we believe Jesus was a prophet. He was a good prophet. He wasn't God or anything. He wasn't the Son of God or anything like that. And so I remember I got into all kinds of debates in school. I'm talking to atheists, Muslim, Buddhists, people who they don't assign themselves to any kind of religion. They're just I'm spiritual, crystals, all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And so I'm meeting people from all these different walks of life, and I'm a pretty open-minded person. So I guess it kind of makes me susceptible to being convinced about certain things. So I'll have all these debates, and people are coming up with their different facts and their different stuff that they believe and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm just some of that stuff kind of makes sense. I kind of, I don't have a rebuttal to that. I don't know what to say to that. And so I had a big just test of faith in college. I'm thinking, this ain't supposed to happen to me. I grew up in church. I know the Bible. I know what the word says. I shouldn't be feeling this down. And for I would say at least for a good solid year, I struggled with it. And I kept it to myself. I got to a point where I was is God real?
Wow.
What makes my God more real than someone else's?
Right.
They're bringing all their texts and their books, and what makes me the one that's right versus someone else?
Right.
I can't disprove what they're saying. They can't disprove what I'm saying. So it really just messed with my head. And like I said, I felt so, I guess, guilty and ashamed. Cause I'm like, who am I to question God? Like, how can I be like having this, like, just lack of faith? I felt so bad and so embarrassed. And I was so scared to even tell y'all, because I was like, how are y'all gonna react? Because I'm like, we raised y'all to think this way, and like, how dare you question what we taught? Like, I was thinking like the worst thing ever.
Well, let me throw in something right there. I do want to reflect back on that time. I remember you were a freshman at VCU. I remember it was a very apprehensive time because you were like, oh no, I'm here by myself. I remember that freshman orientation we had to go to. But I didn't realize the struggle was there. And I'm glad you're revealing this. I'm glad you're being transparent, because there are a lot of people that struggle with their faith, and they don't really know who to talk to about it. They don't know how to get to that point where they feel comfortable enough to release it to someone that's faithful enough to not, point the finger like you were saying. What are you thinking? And so I'm glad you mentioned it. And I'll just throw in this commercial. When Joshua got born again at the age of 5, my wife used to pray down in the family room. I guess we call it the living room, right there on that couch. And then all of a sudden, Joshua was taking her spot at the same time in the morning. She was like, "Hey, wait a minute, this is my spot. How come you're there?" But you probably don't even remember that. But she just changed her time of prayer because she didn't want to interrupt your time, because that was a real time of you were just getting in there and learning who the Lord was and making that relationship happen. So that's the end of my commercial. Okay, so back to you.
So just, I guess, going off of what I was saying, all that was in my head. I just want to clarify, y'all never did that. Like, at no point were y'all sitting there just like, you better. Okay. Like, it was in my head, and I realized later on that was just a trick of the enemy. A lot of times when you're dealing with something, you feel that guilt and you feel that shame, and you're like, if I reveal this, I'm gonna get shunned, I'm gonna get excommunicated, whatever. Right. And you're putting stuff in people's mouths that might not even be in their heart. And you're sitting there so scared to come out and say something. You don't realize that you sitting there and saying I'm struggling with this might be something someone else needs to hear, so they can come out and say, man, I've been struggling with the same thing.
Josh, I want to share this one verse with everybody, and you know this verse. It says, there is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And basically what they're saying is, you don't have to be ashamed. There's going to be stuff we don't know. There's going to be times where we feel weak. There's going to be times where we're struggling. We need to let somebody else know, because when we're weak, God is always strong. But when we join ourselves together and join our faith together, we're stronger. We're always better together. My faith and yours can put 1,000 to flight, 10,000 to flight with 2. So that's the thing. We don't have to feel that condemnation, and God is not doing it. The devil was doing it.
Always. And like I said, a lot of times we sit there, I forgot what pastor said that, automatic negative thoughts, ants.
Yeah.
That comes up like so many times. So I remember it's about a year, I'm dealing with this, and finally it came to a head where I was like, I need to tell somebody. Okay. So I remember y'all were in y'all's room, y'all watching TV or something, and like I was so apprehensive. I was just like, oh man, like I had to hype myself up to like go in there and be like, I guess like what Esther about to go in front of the king, like, oh, hold on, I don't know if I'm gonna get killed for this or not. And so I walk in there and I was like, hey, I got something to talk to you about. And I pretty much just laid it out on the table. You were there, but for people who weren't there, I pretty much laid it all on the table and was basically like, look, I don't know if God is real. I said, I've been struggling with this for a while, and I said, I feel so embarrassed to even like admit that. I don't know. Like I've heard so many different things, and I was like, and after I said it, I kind of like held my breath for a minute, and then like basically you told me like you felt that way before too. Like you said, everybody's had that like that sense of doubt, and it's like, just pray about it. You say, go ask God to reveal himself to you. So you said, just ask him to reveal himself to you, and just keep praying that prayer and earnestly mean it. And I was like, and he will show himself to you. He will prove himself to you. Right. And so I remember immediately I went up to my room, and like I said, that was probably one of the weirdest prayers I've ever felt. Cause it's like, on one end, I'm like, am I just praying to an empty room? On the other hand, I'm like, once again, I should know better. I should know. And I remember I was like, God, I know I should know better. I know that I've been raised in church my whole life. I should not even be questioning this. This shouldn't even be, this is like Christianity 101. Like, I shouldn't even be here right now. I was like, I've been a fool. Just please, like I said, reveal yourself to me in the most blatant way possible, where it's like it's no question that this was you, that
Right.
this is God and nothing else. And I remember I prayed that, and I prayed it multiple times. Like
Okay.
it wasn't like right then, like the sun, the sky opened up and an angel came down, like nothing like that happened. I just remember I prayed it, and I just went to bed, and I didn't think nothing of it. So I think it was like a few months went by. I'm still like praying a prayer, still going about my life. I was working at a Food Line at the time. And I remember this is one day I was working at Food Line. I was working the register. And anyone who works a cash register, like a retail or anything, you turn the light on, all the people flood the line. And so we were having a really busy day. And I just remember I was hungry. I was like, man, it wasn't my break time. And I was like, man, once I get these people out the line, I said, in my head, I was thinking, I said, I'm going to get me a Snickers bar. I really just want a Snickers just to hold me till lunch. So I remember I got the last person on the line, cut off my light. I'm like, cool. No sooner than I cut my light off, this couple gets in line. And I'm just like, oh, come on. So I was like, fine. I turned my light back on. They're like, oh, were you about to like leave? I was like, no, it's fine. Whatever. Give me your groceries.
Okay.
So they start putting their groceries on the line, and I'm just, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Doing my whole spiel, just ringing them up.
Right.
So the lady, I feel her looking at me. She's like drilling a hole in my head with her eyes. I'm like, why is this lady staring at me? Like, what? Do I got something on my face? Like, what is going on? And so she's like for a good minute, she's looking at me. So I look at her, and she just looks at me. She goes, okay, this is going to sound really weird, but God just told me to buy you a Snickers bar.
What?
And I was like, what? Like, hold on. What? She's like, yeah. She's like, I said, I know that sounds crazy. God told me to buy you a Snickers bar right now. And I was like, no way. I was like, are you serious right now? And I'm like freaking out because like I didn't say it out loud. I didn't say, I'm going to buy a Snickers bar. Like,
Right.
I just thought it in my head. So for her to just come out and say that out the blue, I was like, this is it. This must be the sign that God's showing, like, hey, I noticed, here's my proof. And so, like, as dumb as it sounds, that was all the proof I needed. Because I was just like, there's no way she knew that I was going to get a Snickers bar. She didn't say, oh, God told me to buy you something. He told you to buy you just any kind of old candy bar. She said specifically
she right in
what I wanted
your
in that
heart's
moment.
desire.
Yeah, and I was like, it blew my mind. And after that moment, all doubt, everything gone. It was like it was gone. 'Cause I was like, even though it was just a candy bar, it kind of showed like God, like he's paying attention to every minor detail in your life.
Right.
The smallest little problem you have, like he notices that.
Right.
And like that was all I needed. And so after that, I wasn't debating people anymore. I wasn't sitting there going, but this scripture here says it doesn't matter. Like you can sit there and tell me all day, God's not real. Here's the proof. Blah blah blah. I know what I experienced. You know what I mean? So I was like, you can't tell me anything at that point. And it was at that point I felt like I really became saved. I really like had that relationship with God, and my like relationship with Him grew like tenfold.
Good. Well, that was a sweet testimony.
I saw us cutting it close, so I was like, hold on, let me wrap it up a little bit.
No, I'm glad you had a chance to share that, Josh, because everybody has to have that moment. And that was your moment. Everybody has to have that experience to know that God is listening,
right,
and He's real, and He's not only their God, He's my God.
Right.
And that makes so much of a difference. Well, we hope that you got something from this. Please share it. We'll see you again next time. God bless you.
Bye.